So first and foremost, thanks for meeting us here and agreeing to do this little one-to-one sort of interview per se. All right. So if you're not aware, this is Frank Calleja, very famous for your rock and roll.
Notorious.
So, when did you first realise that you wanted to be in the scene of music?
I can't really point to a very specific moment, but I guess after getting the ball rolling with live shows and the first recordings, I figured out, I can do this. I'm pretty good at this. And at that point in time, I thought, okay, yeah, let's keep on going with this because it's fun. I enjoy it. It gives me a lot of satisfaction. So if I had to say a time period, it would be around the year 2000, 2001, circa.
So, what would you be doing in life if you weren't a musician?
Very probably something else that has to do with entertainment, either radio, TV, anything creative, anything artistic. I've always watched a lot of TV when I was young, and I just love the concept of entertainment. It's a creative thing. It's something I like. So very probably if it wasn't music, say for example, I'm a big wrestling fan.
I could see you in the ring actually.
Not so much maybe now at this age, but if the opportunity came about when I was younger, maybe. So something that has to do with entertainment.
Proceed. So, how excited are you about life right now from 1 to 10?
Solid 8. A solid 8 I think is a good number.
Okay. Can you describe yourself in 3 words?
3 words. Showman, entertaining, and reserved.
Can't argue with that really. The best concert you ever attended?
Probably circa 2004 if I'm not mistaken. I flew to the States to the Ozfest festival. Bunch of great bands, including Black Sabbath with the original lineup, but the best show in my opinion by far, hands down, was Judas Priest. I was completely blown away by Judas Priest, and I still remember that as the best concert I ever attended to.
Awesome. So, who was the best crowd you ever played for, sorry, let me rephrase that.
Best crowd, let me see. I'd probably have to go maybe with a rockestra crowd, but also there was a show which we did on not the last tour, but the one before, last year with Beheaded. We closed the 10th stage at Partisan Open Air in Germany. I don't know how many thousands of people were there. We were sort of the headlining act in the 10th stage, and it was insane. So yeah, I'll go with that one. Partisan Open Air.
So, biggest achievement in your career in life?
Without taking anything away or not playing any of the singular events, obviously, as I said, this rockestra, which is a big thing. Touring Brazil was also a big thing. Some festivals I played, big crowds, and important festivals. But I think the most important thing in my career so far, I've been doing it for 20 years, and I think that the fact that I'm still doing it and things are always moving forward, getting better, I think longevity is the biggest, achievement for me. It's the most important thing for me.
So, what is your biggest disappointment in your career so far?
Maybe if I look back at the history of Slit, which was my very first band, we were active between the year 2000 and 2008, and we really did a lot in those 8 years. We also played Hellfest, the only Maltese band to ever play, the prestigious Hellfest in 2007. And 2008, because of behavior of some members, Let's just say that. Unfortunately, things came to a halt, and I always thought that Slit had so much potential to do much more. But from that, the silver lining in that is that eventually I joined Beheaded, and did so much with Beheaded. But I always look at Slit and the way sort of things stopped at that point when we had so much momentum, so much going on, and we had achieved so much in such a little time. That I feel, that I could look back at that and say it's, I'm a bit disappointed in the fact that we didn't, go the whole 9 yards with it.
But it was a nice time. Starting end point sort of thing.
Yes, it was. I mean, and it was a great experience for me. It gave me a lot of experience, going forward into, stepping into Beheaded, and doing other things. So, I cherish that. Slit is now active again, but things are a bit different now, than they were back then. We're a little bit older. Everybody has their sort of things going on in their personal life, so it's a bit of a different situation.
Okay, yeah. So, who is your celebrity boy crush if you have one, and celebrity girl crush?
All right, let's start with the boy crush. I'm a big wrestling mark, a big wrestling fan, and right now, in my opinion, the hottest thing in wrestling is a Mr. Chris Jericho. He's also the singer of Fozzy. I'm just in love with the guy, he's just the epitome of entertainment for me. So if I had to pick a boy crush, Chris Jericho, you're mine. Female, I'm an 80s kid. I'm from Malta. I was raised watching Italian TV. So my crush will always be Sabrina Salerno. Always. She still is, by the way.
So if you're watching...
Yeah, Sabrina, if you're watching, you're my girl crush.
So, a movie that possibly made you cry?
The Wrestler. Mickey Rourke and The Wrestler. Although it's not, it's not the story of my life, but there are certain things in that movie, in that story, which I could relate to so closely. And it's such a great movie. It's my favorite movie of all time. And every time I watch it, I get so emotional because it's such a touching story.
Best gift ever received?
Oh, best gift ever received. You know what? There's this painting which was done by... Okay, let's backtrack a second. So, my brother, his wife, her brother. Okay. I don't know how that relates to me exactly, but from my brother and his wife, I got this painting of L'Uomo Tigre. He's a Japanese anime, has always been my favorite cartoon character, and I still watch it to this day, and they gave me like a painting, drawn by my brother's wife's brother, signed, so there's only one of it, and I love it.
That's awesome. So, do you have any irrational fears like snakes, planes, or clowns?
Not really, no. I've got rational fears, I fear death, once if it comes knocking by, illness, sadness, all those things, but rational fears, not irrational fears.
What's the one thing that you own that you cherish the most?
Are we talking just physical things or?
Anything that you own.
In that case, I think my dogs,
You got a new one recently, I see.
Yep, it's they have outnumbered us now. It's 3 dogs against 2 humans. I've got 3 boxer dogs. Brasco, who's the oldest, Kesh, and we just got a little guy. He's 4 months old. His name is Hazuki, and yeah. But aside from the dogs, there's also something physical which I own, which I really cherish. I'm a gamer. I've always been a gamer. I've always been into video games since I was young. And the system that I played the most when I was a teenager was the Amiga computer. My father kept all my old diskettes
Oh,
Most of them
wow.
don't work, and they've been, you know, copied on a million times and reused a million times. But he kept them for me, and I really cherish those because those are gonna stay with me until I'm gone. Goodbye. And they're probably well, they will still be there, you know.
Perfect.
Got more longevity than I do.
So, what is a topic you could spend hours talking about?
Video games, wrestling, and anime. Those
Okay.
three things.
If we found you in a pub, what would you be drinking?
Coke Zero. I'm not a big alcohol guy. You know, I'll have a beer, I'll have a whiskey. I like liqueurs as well. I also like cocktails because I've got a bit of a sweet tooth. But most of the time, it will be either a Coke Zero or maybe a coffee. If it's cold weather.
Cold weather, yes. So, favourite lyrics from any song?
If you like to gamble, I'll tell you I'm your man. You win some, lose some, it's all the same to me. That's Motorhead Ace of Spades.
If you could form a supergroup with members from any band, dead or alive, and you're the singer, who are the other four?
Okay, so Lemmy used to play bass, so I'll get him on bass. And he can do some backing vocals for me. Let's pick two guitar players. Tony Iommi and Zach Wilde. I think that would make a nice guitar duo. Drummers, I don't really care much. I mean, the drummer is there, you know, as long as he's a good drummer, so I'll probably get one of my session guys to step in. But let's get those three guys, Lemmy, Zach Wilde and Tony Iommi.
Very good. So, local favourite band?
You know what? I'm gonna go with a synthwave band called Car. It's Karr. It's a trio. They just played synthwave things alongside FC 1980, which is one of my one-man group, my alias FC 1980. It's a trio and they're fantastic. Just check them out. Karr. Car.
I'll put it in the description as well. So, least local band. Sorry, least favourite local band.
You're gonna get me some heat. This one. All right, let's go with someone who's not active anymore, right? So that.
Playing it safe.
Yeah, play it safe. Give you the politically correct answer. Let's go with Limestone Kick. I never liked Limestone Kick. I think they were very overrated, and I think they couldn't really, you know, play the instruments very well. The guy couldn't really sing. So sorry, Limestone Kick, but for this question, you're my pick.
So, one thing people would be surprised to know about you.
You know what? People seem to think that because I'm in a death metal band, and I've been in extreme metal bands for so many years, that's all I listen to at home. When the reality is that I hardly listen to any metal at home at all. I'm listening to other genres of music, and with that also the fact that some people seem to think that I'm this like energetic, hyper guy. I'm a very cool, soft-spoken in a way, kind of guy, patient. So yeah, the two things are kind of associated.
It's that cliche, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like a cliche because people see you on stage being energetic and all, and they think I'm running around with my hair down at home just growling at people randomly, and that's just not it. You don't think of Pavarotti, and I don't think Pavarotti used to, just do the whole soprano thing when he's talking to people like, what are you having? I'm having coffee. No, So think of that and kind of get the answer there.
So, what is the hardest thing in the rock industry in Malta?
Not exclusively for the rock industry, just in general as an artist in Malta, I think one of the most difficult things is actually kind of stepping out of the island. People are like, sometimes artists get a bit too comfortable in the setting here, and when they take their craft abroad, their work abroad, they're small fish in a big pond, whereas here you're kind of a medium-sized fish in a small pond. And I think that is the biggest challenge, readapting yourself to the realities of what's outside of Malta.
Agree with that totally. So, what do you like and dislike about music in general nowadays?
Nowadays, the music industry faces a reality in the same way many other industries face, especially in entertainment, is that being there's so much of it available very easily. Back in the day, to get your hands on a record, it took you. There was a process. You needed to buy the record. You needed to look for the record, find it. Sometimes dig even underground to find certain records which weren't easily available. Whereas nowadays, if you want to listen to music, all you do is, you pop on your phone, Spotify, YouTube, and like this, you've downloaded the whole discography of a band.
No effort.
No effort. So what this does is, first of all, the good side of it is that there's a lot of music which is not freely, but more easily accessible and available. So there's more of a platform for artists to put their music out there. But on the other hand, there's so much of it that the good stuff and the really good stuff kind of loses itself in the shuffle, because there's so much mediocre music and bad music out there that the good stuff that gets lost.
True, really true. So, who would you consider a duet with, dead or alive?
Johnny Cash.
Okay. What was the first tattoo you ever had? Because you're kind of covered with them.
Not covered, but
So visually covered.
Partially covered. The first tattoo I got was in 1999, I think. It was the old Slit logo on my back. I did it at Bobby's tattoo back in the day. Bobby's not with us anymore, but that was my first tattoo.
Okay. So, is there anyone today you'd say is a true living rock star?
There's only one guy. I know it, he knows it, you know it, everybody knows it. It's Mr. Way Camilleri. The resident rock star, anywhere and everywhere.
So, from all the living rock stars, who got old and is still cool?
Ozzy. Ozzy is cool. Ozzy will always remain cool, and I hope Ozzy lives on forever.
I hope he outlives everybody.
He's the king of darkness and the king of everything.
Which is the most underrated band of the 90s?
That's a bit of a tough one, because you know what? In the 90s, most of the music I was exposed to was through MTV and VH1. So assuming, that all those bands I was listening to through MTV and VH1 were fairly established, since they were, on those channels, that's a difficult question. Maybe in the 90s, which was kind of the golden years of grunge, a lot of heavy metal bands kind of didn't get the limelight that they deserved. If you look at, I don't know, like Black Sabbath, Iron Maiden, in that period of time. So just heavy metal in general, I think, it was underrated in the 90s.
Okay. So, what's your favorite thing about the 90s?
Computers, I think. I think, the way technology started advancing, and internet sort of becoming a thing.
The old dial-up.
Yeah, the old dial-up and the handshake. I think, right now we're going through a revival of the 80s, which makes sense because the kids of the 80s are now my age, but in a few years, I think we're going to start seeing a revival of the 90s and everything 90s, the aesthetic, the sounds, and all that. Yeah, I think that's one thing I like and reminisce about. Just computers and the beginning of computers in the 90s.
So, if you could only sing one song for the rest of your life, what would it be?
So with the Whiskey Music project, we do a lot of covers, but one song I really enjoy singing because there's something about it and somehow it really fits nicely with my tone of voice is a song by Billy Idol called Rebel Yell. I love singing that song.
So, has anyone ever left you feeling completely starstruck?
Yes, twice.
Ooh.
First time I was 14 years old and Black Sabbath came to Malta and there used to be this radio show called Grinta. And I was one of the callers there, and I remember I had won a tape because there was this competition. Brian McAuliffe used to call in, and if you got the answer right, you won a tape. And I went to collect the tape on the day of the show from Shandy in Malta. And as soon as I went to reception, I just see Tony Iommi just standing there in front of me. And I was a 14-year-old. I'm like, what do I say? Well, yeah, like, do I tell him, hi Tony? You know, what do I say? I don't know what to say.
That's so nice.
I was completely starstruck.
That actually gave me goosebumps.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Can you imagine how I felt? You know, like this 14-year-old growing my hair. You know, and I'm like, what do I do? What do I say? So that was one time. A second time, this is actually quite a good story. I was going on tour with Slit and Bruce Dickinson. Some of you, probably a lot of you know he's a pilot, right? And the air hostess, one of the air hostesses comes up to us. He's like, are you guys into metal? You're like, yeah, you know, we've got metal shirts, we've got long hair, so, you know, it's a safe bet to say yes. And she's like, do you know Bruce Dickinson? I'm like, of course we know Bruce Dickinson. And she's like, he flies with our airline. It was an airline called Astreus. But he wasn't flying that plane. And next flight we took was Bruce Dickinson flying.
Wow.
And we went inside the cockpit, we met Bruce Dickinson, and I remember he told us, now you can go and tell the world that you met Bruce Dickinson.
Alright, so, one quote to live by.
I don't usually do quotes. I think quotes are kind of like punchlines and one-liners for not so smart people to try to come off as smarter than they actually are. But I'll use this quote, and I think this applies both for my life in entertainment and music. It applies for, you know, my life in business now, because that's my line of work, and it applies to life in general. That is, the show must go on. The show must always go on.
I agree with that. So, what is the most romantic thing you've ever done for a loved one?
I'm not a romantic person. You know, and I'm not saying that to look cool or anything. My girlfriend knows I'm not a romantic person, and she lives with it. You know, bless her. I'm just, you know, I don't like cuddling. I don't like lovey-dovey stuff. But I don't mean, you know, that I don't care for a person, or I have less love or care for, you know, the persons around me and the persons that are close to me. But I'm just not a romantic guy, you know. When I see like romantic quotes and Valentine's Day, I'm like, I don't like this stuff, man. I don't like it.
So, do you have a style icon?
You know what? Let's go back to wrestling. There's a tag team of brothers called the Usos, and I don't know what it is about these guys, but anything they have on them just looks cool, man. You know, these guys look cool. So let's go with the Usos. Jimmy and Jay Uso. You're not my boy crush, but you're my style icon.
So, how would you normally spend the day off?
At home, playing video games, watching some stuff with my dogs. It's my time to kick backs, hit the reset button, you know, and just go back to my element.
So, pessimist or optimistic?
Realist.
Okay.
Realist.
So, what is the craziest thing you've done in your life so far?
Probably when I went to live in the UK for a couple of years. I mean, it's not a crazy idea, you know. I kind of felt like I needed to step a bit outside of my element and my comfort zone. But, you know, looking back, I think it was a good thing, but it was at the same time a bit of a crazy thing to do. Sort of just, you know, leave everything behind and go into this, like, step head first into traffic, into, you know, this adventure.
And it's quite a culture shock between here.
Yeah, and you know, that's the thing. You know, when I look back, I think, man, that weather, you know, the food in the UK isn't very good. And just culture in general. I mean, for example, I feel more at home and I click better with Italians. Having said that, you know, I've got many friends from the UK. One of my closest friends is a British guy. He's like my bigger brother, but in general, you know, I just didn't feel like I ever clicked completely with the culture, never felt completely at home.
Okay, so how many pieces of clothing do you own in your closet that isn't black?
Many. Like, I'm talking some bright colors. You know, like I said, I'm an 80s guy. I mean, bright colors, neon colors. That's another thing, you know. Some people think that now I'm all, you know, mostly wearing black and white. But yeah, I'll wear. I'm always wearing black on stage because somehow that fits, you know, the situation better. But yeah, I've got plenty of colorful clothes.
Good. So, favorite childhood cartoon character?
You mentioned him already, L'Uomo Tigre, Tiger Man. It's a Japanese anime. He's not a cartoon character originally. He's a wrestler, but eventually it was made into a cartoon. It's called Tiger Mask. It was aired first in 1967. It's a great story. It's not for kids. Trust me, it's not for kids. It's very violent, but it's a great story.
So, do you have a hidden talent?
Yes, I can. I'm usually quite good with imitations. Yeah, you know, just randomly meet someone, and a few minutes later, I'm like, yeah, I can, you know, imitate them. So, I guess that's a hidden talent. You wanna call it?
So? Yeah. So, do you have any hobbies?
I mean, video games. Aside from playing, I collect some of the old systems as well.
Right, okay.
Like, you know, the old Ataris, Nintendos, Commodores, and I've got a little collection, so that's my go-to place.
I remember my Sega
Mega Drive,
and I had, what was it before that?
Master System.
Master System, exactly. So, saddest moment you ever experienced?
There was a period in my life when, you know, things were going well, you know, with professionally, musically, everything was fine, but I was feeling a bit alone, you know. Had a bit of a fallout with some family members, and you know, every time after a tour, after a great show, you know, I find myself back home alone. I'm not the kind of person who stops. Like I said, show must go on, so I always kept going, thinking, you know, things will change, things will get better, and they did. It's part of life, but there was this period of time where, you know, I could feel it. There's a certain sadness and solitude that sort of I was engulfed in.
Nobody to share with, per se.
Exactly. It was, you know, it's nice when, you know, you achieve something, you do something. It's nice to share, and I'm quite a solitary man as a character, so, you know, I can deal with solitude a little bit better maybe, because I feel that there's also a certain solace, and solitude can be peaceful as well. But I remember that period, you know, was a bit of a sad period in my life.
So, do you ever buy designer branded clothes?
I do buy some brands, like, you know, sunglasses. I want branded sunglasses. Shoes, I want branded shoes. I don't know if that's like designer, but I don't know if Nike qualifies as a designer brand. But yeah, I like some brands. Especially shoes and accessories like hats, sunglasses, that kind of thing.
Okay. So, what artist would we be surprised that you listen to?
Michael Jackson. I'm a big Michael Jackson guy. He's again, as an entertainer, he was something else. Greatest entertainer of all time, in my opinion. Obviously, later on in his career, he was more sort of in the public eye for matters that weren't great. I think we'll never really know what was behind.
But it doesn't take away from his ability.
Exactly. But musically, the guy is just phenomenal. It's something else. There won't be another one like him.
No. So, when was the last time you danced?
If I dance, it's usually just for a little bit of fun. I don't dance. I don't dance, seriously, so to speak. So it's probably at home, when I was just like trying to make my girlfriend laugh a bit.
So, when are you most excited?
I'd say, anytime going on stage, anytime, just before performing, there's always the little bit of excitement, not over excitement, but I think that bit of adrenaline is
You're pumping
always
yourself ready for the crowds.
Yeah, exactly. It's important. So usually I just before the show, the few seconds before, just kicking it all off.
Tell you. So, best advice you ever got from your dad?
I don't know if this counts as advice, but on a number of occasions and in a number of situations, not always, but in a number of situations, my father used to tell me, now I'd ask the question, I'd be like, yeah, but why? And he would tell me, because I said so. And I'd be like, yeah, but why? Like, because I said so. There are other occasions where I would ask why, and he would explain why. But that instilled in me a sense of reality as an adult, that you're going to face situations in life which are out of your control, and they won't feel right, and you won't have an answer, and there's nothing you can do to solve it. So that's something which I always kept, as advice. I always kept it in the back of my head, and it was very useful.
My father was a bit like that, actually.
Yeah?
Because I said so. Okay.
All right.
So, what is the one thing that would make your life perfect right now?
More money. You know what? I'll be blunt about it. More money would make my life perfect, because everything else is fine. And if I had, if I had the worry of money just removed completely, not that I'm worried about money, I'm fine with money, but if money was something that I wouldn't have to be concerned with at all, I think I can focus more on the things I like, enjoy, and I feel I'm good at. So, give me the money.
So, what's the biggest surprise you ever had?
Well, one of the biggest surprises was actually when they called me up to do Rockestra. I've been doing Rockestra now for, I think, like 8 years consecutively.
So quite a long time.
But the first time I got called up, I still was doing just the extreme stuff as a singer. And I remember when they called me, I'm like, are you sure? You called the right guy, you want me? Like, no, this is, we want something like this. And that was a surprise for me, to be honest. I really was not expecting it, and it was never something which I thought, I would be doing, or even sort of put like in my bucket list or anything like that. You know, so when that happened, it was quite surprising actually.
So, last TV show you binge watched?
What's it called? It's a British. It was 2 seasons. Happy Valley. It's a crime thing. It's fantastic.
We'll have to check that one out.
Yeah. It's, you know, make sure you don't have to work the next day. 'Cause
Okay.
you'll binge watch the hell out of it.
So, what's your favorite curse word?
Ma porcaccio alla miseriaccia zozza.
So, in a distress situation, who is the first number you call?
My girlfriend.
That's quick and easy.
Yeah.
So, one person you will never have time for.
One person, what?
One person you will never have time for.
Fanatics. I don't like fanatics, whether it's religious or political fanatics. If someone is trying to push their agenda on me, I'm gonna push back, and I'm gonna push back hard.
So, what is something that has changed your life?
Music has given me everything I have and taken away everything I have. So music.
Love-hate relationship.
Yes, it's. I wrote a song, actually an album, about it with one of my bands. It came from the desert, and it's just about that. It's called Curse of the Lucky, because I feel lucky that I am doing this and I can do this, but at the same time it's like a weight that's always on your shoulder. You've got this thing inside you where you cannot focus on other things. Like in my professional career, now I'm a full-time musician, but before doing this, I always struggled like keeping jobs, and just focusing on the job, because my focus was always on music. So sometimes it's a bit difficult to lead a normal life, just purely because you're not really doing something that's normal. So
you're not pursuing your passion as much as you want to do, basically.
Exactly.
So, what's one thing you can never live without?
I think video games. I think I could live without music, but I can't live without video games. I just love that stuff. I'm a big geek. I mean, I've come to terms with that. I've come to terms with it now.
So, first 3 things on your bucket list.
So, I need to take Kazuki, the young dog, to the vet this evening. Is that a bucket list thing?
I don't think it's on his bucket list.
Well, it's on mine. I need to finish the game I'm playing now. And on a more serious note, I need to write some music for the Whiskey Music Project NFC 1980. Last year I wrote 2 albums for Beheaded and Coffin Bird, and I've been going through a bit of a writer's block for the past few months, but now it's coming back, so I need to, grab that and squeeze the artistic hell out of it.
So, what would be your dream destination?
Tokyo, Japan. Specifically Shibuya. I guess that goes on my bucket list, right?
You can add it to that.
Yeah, let's add it to the bucket list. Tokyo. I'm fascinated with Japanese culture, and I've never been to Japan, so I'd love to go there.
Very good. So, what was the last book you read?
Oh, I'm not a reader. I don't read books. So the last book I read was so long ago that honestly I don't remember. But I just don't. I get my information from other places. But I think it's something that has to do with the way we were brought up as students at school, where we were kind of forced to read rather than it was. To me, reading is like a chore, and I don't do it.
Kind of forced on you when you were young.
Yeah, and I think I'm still a bit traumatized by it.
So, can you say a sentence in a foreign language other than Maltese?
Sì, certamente, possiamo fare questa intervista in italiano senza alcun problema.
Okay. I'll subtitle then. Last person you messaged?
a guy, a guy in Romania actually. I had to get back to him with all the information about a show we're meant to be playing there later this year, and I didn't do it. And I just told him, I'm gonna get back to you. Don't worry, I'll be with you tonight. So it's a guy from Romania.
Last thing you Googled? Or Safari, depending on what you use.
Oh boy, I have no idea. Probably some collector's edition I'm looking for, something like that. No, actually, the last thing I googled, I'm looking for some like a vocoder. So that's the last thing I googled actually, just before coming here.
Alright, there we go.
A piece of musical equipment.
Yeah, I said that's why I was like, yeah, there we go. I know a little bit, but not a lot. What's your favorite Disney character?
I love cartoons, but I'm not really a big Disney guy.
Okay, cartoon character.
No.
We'll make it simple. Apart from
No, let me give you a Disney guy. Let me give you a Disney guy. Lightning McQueen from Cars.
Okay.
He's cool. I like him.
So, what's one thing that puts you off a person when meeting them for the first time?
Aside from someone who is a fanatic and pushing their agenda, people that are a bit too self-entitled, that puts me off immediately.
So, what's one thing in life you wish you'd done but you haven't yet?
I wish I was a wrestler at some point, but I'm probably too old. I'm 40 years old now, and my body is too broken for it. And maybe I'll be a manager. Maybe I'll be a wrestling manager.
You could work your way in
Yeah.
some shape, way or form.
Some way or another. Cutting corners and taking shortcuts.
Ric Flair's still doing it, so you know.
Yeah, but you know, he's
Not much, admittedly, but you know. So, what is your biggest strength?
believing that my opinion and believing that I can give myself the best advice.
What is your biggest weakness?
Same thing. Believing that I can give myself the best advice.
That's so awesome.
So, what was the first job you ever did?
I was a waiter in some like 2-star hotel. I wasn't very good at it.
What is something that you consider to be utterly disgusting?
Any food that has like insects in it, you know, like when I was in Thailand, I remember, you know, there was like bugs that you could eat. Yeah, for me that's disgusting.
We ate mealworms recently last year, didn't we?
Yeah.
Actually, we were eating that in. That was just nibbles on a
Yeah.
ferry. But I mean, I think I agree with you on some point of that. So, you're cooking a 3-course meal at home. Who would you invite, and what would you cook?
Family members and bandmates. As a starter, I'd serve some Maltese stuff like jbejniet, you know, that kind of thing. As a main dish, I'm good with stews. I'm really good with meat stews. So meat stew. And as a dessert, I'd probably do something like I like getting fresh fruit, mixing it with some, you know, with ice cream and all that, and kind of like doing a homemade ice cream. So that would be my dessert.
That'd be quite cool. When are we getting the invite?
After the interview.
So, what's the best compliment you've ever received?
You know, long ago it was I did a show with the Whiskey Music Project, and this girl, which was one of the bar staff, came up to me and she's like, I was eating actually, and she's like, can I just interrupt you for a second? I'm like, yeah, sure, go on. And she told me, you have the most beautiful voice I have ever heard. Now, you know, let's let's just set the record straight. I know I don't have the most beautiful voice in the world. I know I'm not the greatest singer in the world. There's thousands and thousands of singers that are better than me. But for someone, to go out of their way and come up to you and tell you such a thing, it was like, okay, thank you, and
From a complete
didn't-
stranger,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
I can relate to
Thought
that.
that
Not
was-
quite, but I can understand that.
It was cool. It was a cool thing.
What is something that you think of that makes you smile immediately?
My dogs, all three of them, together cuddled up.
What makes you angry?
I'm really bad with. I'm terrible with housework, like handyman stuff. I'm just so bad. And some of these things should be simple things. You watch a YouTube instruction video or something, and you think, okay, you need to put this in this, move this here, and these things just make me so frustrated because I just can't get them right, and it's so annoying because it should be simple, and because I'm unable to, do these simple tasks, I have to call in someone and pay them money to do them. So this really makes me angry and frustrated every time something breaks down in the house and I try to fix it. I just go insane. They just make me mad. I'm terrible at it. Terrible.
What are we expecting to see from Frank Calleja in 2020?
More of the same, more or less. More Frank Calleja. I don't plan to change my world, change the world of anyone. Just keep doing what I'm doing, one piece at a time. So more of Frank Calleja in 2020.
The full plan, for sure. So, what advice would you give someone who is starting their career in this day and age?
Just go out there, play your music, make mistakes, learn from, go out there again, make the same mistakes, learn the lesson, don't learn the lesson, just go out there, trust your gut feeling, have fun, and that's it. In this industry especially, you're gonna get so much advice coming from it. You're gonna be bombarded with people giving you good advice, bad advice, people being jealous of you, just so many things. Trust your instinct, trust your gut feeling, have fun doing what you're doing, take what you do very seriously, but don't take yourself too seriously. That's my advice to anyone.
Awesome. So that was the 73 questions. So first of all, thank you for
Welcome. And
finally completing
thank
it
you
for
having
us. But there is a bonus question.
Bonus question.
Are you following MT Lifestyle and Travel Blog on social media?
Absolutely. And everybody watching this interview who made it through the 73 questions just like I have should click that like button, that follow button. Whatever it is, knock yourself out.
Thanks so much, Frank.
Cheers.